Have you ever been so utterly absorbed in your phone during a late night commute that you just, you look up and realize you've completely lost track of time and
Oh,
space?
absolutely. Like you get that sudden jolt of panic.
Right. You expect to see your normal stop, your local neighborhood, but instead the familiar tracks have led you somewhere, well, somewhere completely impossible. So welcome to Night Talk. We are taking a deep dive tonight into a story that starts exactly where many of you might be right now.
Which is on a perfectly routine, completely unremarkable journey home.
Exactly. Our mission today is to unpack one of the internet's most haunting, foundational digital ghost stories. It's a legend that literally derailed the concept of a safe transit.
Yeah, it basically operates as the ultimate modern campfire story. But in this case, the campfire was the glowing screen of a flip phone, and the dark woods surrounding it was the vast, anonymous expanse of the early internet.
That's a great way to put it. But before we get swallowed by those dark woods, we need to introduce the third presence in the studio with us tonight.
Hmm.
Our gorgeous white golden retriever, Colie, is holding down her role as the official tender paw sentinel of this deep dive.
She takes her job very seriously.
She really does.
Mhm.
Although I'm actually a little unnerved right now because she is currently staring intently at a completely empty corner of the room by the acoustic panels, and she's letting out this very soft, continuous whine. You can probably hear her a little bit if you listen closely. It's setting a spectacular mood for the topic,
Yeah.
but I'd really prefer she not see ghosts while we record.
I am choosing to firmly categorize her behavior as deep intellectual curiosity.
Yeah, let's go with that.
She is just pondering the existential themes of tonight's discussion. There's nothing paranormal about our studio corner, but that feeling you're having right now, that sudden disorienting jolt where your brain tries to reconcile a safe environment with an unsettling input, that is exactly where the story begins.
It really is.
To understand how this massive digital legend took root, we have to start with a setting so heavily bound by rules and schedules that when it breaks its own rules, the terror is immediate, it's visceral.
So we are going back to January 8th, 2004, in Japan. A woman, using the screen name Hasumi, boards a train from Shinhamamatsu Station on the Enshu Railway.
Right.
And for anyone who has taken this route, it is aggressively standard. It's a 5, maybe 7-minute trip between stops. She has done this dozens, maybe hundreds of times,
Yeah.
and to pass the minutes, she is live posting on 2 channel from her phone.
Which, for context, was a massive early Japanese message board, very chaotic, very real-time.
Exactly.
And her early posts are just mundane, idle chatter. But then the tone of the thread shifts abruptly. Hasumi types out a message saying that her train hasn't stopped for 20 minutes.
20 minutes on a 5-minute route. That's a lifetime.
Exactly. And the 5 other passengers in her car are completely fast asleep. She tries to find the conductor, but she can't reach the front of the train. And because this is a live forum, thousands of strangers are reading her updates and responding in real time.
It's like they become this digital Greek chorus.
Yes. Watching a tragedy unfold but totally unable to physically intervene.
The psychology of this specific moment is just fascinating to me because you are on a transit system that prides itself on down-to-the-second precision, right? It stops every 5 minutes, but it's been 20. The doors haven't opened. The train is just barreling forward.
Well, in the highly regulated ecosystem of Japanese public transit, a train ignoring its schedule for 20 minutes isn't just an inconvenience, it is a profound anomaly.
An anomaly.
Right, a complete deviation from the standard. It shatters the illusion of control. We build these massive, complex systems and trust them implicitly with our safety. So when a machine that large and that fast deviates from its programming, you are suddenly trapped inside a physical manifestation of chaos.
The best analogy I have for that specific flavor of dread is the stomach-dropping feeling you get in an elevator. Like you press the button for your floor, but the elevator skips it.
Oh, that is the worst feeling.
Right. And instead of stopping, it just keeps going up, pulling you higher into the dark of the shaft, and you realize you have absolutely zero control over the metal box you are standing inside.
Exactly. You're just along for the ride.
But I do find Hasumi's reaction frustrating here. I really do. If I am on a train blowing past stops for 20 minutes in the dark, I am pulling the emergency brake. Or I am walking over and violently shaking one of those 5 sleeping passengers awake. Why just post on a forum?
I get that, but it comes down to the immense weight of social conditioning.
You think so?
Oh, definitely. We are deeply conditioned to trust the system. And there's a powerful cultural emphasis, particularly in Japan, on not causing a public disturbance.
Right.
You don't want to be the person who pulls the emergency brake, stopping an entire commuter line, just because you were feeling, a little paranoid. Hasumi defaults to passive observation. She assumes there must be a logical explanation, like an express reroute or maybe a schedule adjustment she missed.
So she's looking for reassurance.
Exactly. She seeks validation from the internet crowd before taking physical action, because the fear of social embarrassment often overrides the instinct for self-preservation.
Man, that is grim, but it makes total sense.
Yeah.
And because she sees passive, she lets the physical momentum carry her entirely past the bounds of normalcy. She just rides it out.
Yeah.
And eventually, after roughly an hour of moving through total darkness on what was supposed to be a 7-minute commute, the brakes finally screech. The doors open, and Hasumi steps off the train into a place she calls Kisaragi Station.
And here's the terrifying part. Kisaragi Station exists on absolutely no map. It is not in any railway directory. There is zero government record of it ever being built or commissioned.
Nothing at all.
Nothing. When she steps onto the platform, she is met with a level of isolation that is hard to comprehend in the modern world.
Yeah, anyone who has traveled through Japan knows that even the most remote, rural train stations have some footprint of civilization. There is usually a glowing vending machine, a rusted taxi stand, maybe a coin locker or a payphone. Kisaragi has nothing.
Zero amenities.
It is just an empty platform surrounded by dark fields and jagged mountains.
She has stepped out of a densely populated, hyper-connected society into a perfect void. The environment is fundamentally devoid of life or matter.
A void. Yeah, that's exactly the word for it.
And the human brain is constantly scanning its surroundings for navigational anchors, things like signs, lights, sounds of traffic. When those are stripped away all at once, the cognitive dissonance is staggering. She is essentially experiencing sensory deprivation on a geographical scale.
Which is terrifying. And the people watching this unfold on the forum, they are begging her to stay on the train. They are typing seriously, telling her not to let the doors close.
But she doesn't listen.
No. She hesitates on the platform, and the train pulls away, leaving her behind in the void. She tries to call her parents, but they have never heard of Kisaragi Station and have no idea how to find her.
And she tries 110, right, the emergency line.
She does. She dials emergency services, but when she tries to explain where she is, the police hang up on her. They assume it's a drunk commuter making a late-night prank call.
Wow.
It feels like the ultimate digital age nightmare. Imagine standing in the freezing cold, pulling your phone out to open Google Maps, and the screen is just completely blank. No roads, no blue dot, no terrain. You haven't just lost your way, you have fallen off the grid entirely.
It's pure isolation. But when all of your technological lifelines fail simultaneously, the silence of a place like that becomes oppressive. But for Hasumi, the silence didn't last.
Right.
It was broken by an auditory shift that forced her to make a terrifying choice. Remain paralyzed on the empty platform or walk blindly into the unknown.
So she updates the thread, saying she can hear distant bells. She says it sounds like a traditional shrine bell, mixing with a rhythmic drum beat echoing from somewhere in the distance.
Which is deeply unsettling at, 2 a.m.?
Yeah,
Yeah.
super creepy. But she makes the call to walk toward it.
Yeah.
She follows the train tracks away from the platform and eventually enters a long, unlit passage she identifies as the Isho Tunnel.
Just walking on the tracks.
Yeah, she walks over the wooden railway ties in pitch blackness for over an hour.
I can't even imagine. The physical toll of walking through a dark railway tunnel for an hour, combining sheer exhaustion with the adrenaline of pure terror, that would break most people.
Oh, absolutely.
But the true psychological break happens on the other side of that tunnel because she finally encounters another human being, a man standing near the tracks. But he only has one leg, and he looks at her and simply tells her, "You need to leave this place now."
Whoa. Okay, sorry to interrupt, but Colie just bolted straight up.
Oh, wow, she really did.
Yeah, she's pacing over to the studio door right now, aggressively sniffing the bottom edge of the soundproofing.
Huh.
She just gave this massive, decisive huff, and now she's just lying there staring dead at the door. I think the mention of the one-legged man was a bit much for our tender Paw Sentinel.
Well, she always knows. Dogs have an incredible sensitivity to shifts in tension, and a massive shift in the narrative's tension happens right here.
Clearly.
Because folklore researchers who have analyzed the Kisaragi legend point out that this one-legged figure links directly to a yukai. In Japanese folklore, there is a specific crippled, wandering spirit called a tenome. Meeting this figure changes the entire geometry of Hasumi's situation.
Which brings up a deeply unsettling question for you listening right now. Think about the mechanics of fear for a second. Is it worse to be completely terrifyingly alone in a dark void, Or is it worse to be in that dark void, finally encounter someone, and slowly realize they aren't entirely human?
Oh, the latter, without question. It is the sudden, violent transition from passive environmental isolation to an active, predatory threat. Fleeing from that one-legged spirit pushes Hasumi into a blind panic. She runs, and that desperation pushes her right into the arms of someone she assumes is a rescuer.
But it's a trap.
Yes, this rescue is the trap that seals her fate.
So she bumps into another stranger who seems totally normal, just a guy with a car. He offers her a lift to a nearby business hotel. She is physically exhausted, she is terrified, and her phone battery is dying.
And the forum is screaming at her.
Yeah, the forum is warning her not to get in a stranger's car at 2 a.m., but her options are exhausted. She gets in.
And the relief she feels sitting in that passenger seat is weaponized against her. The car doesn't go toward a town or a glowing hotel sign. It turns off the main road and heads deep into the mountains.
Just deeper into the dark.
Exactly. As they are driving into the absolute middle of nowhere, the driver stops responding to her questions. He just begins murmuring. It's this strange, repetitive gibberish, as if his consciousness has been entirely hijacked or possessed by something else.
At roughly 3 a.m., Hasumi posts her final update to the forum. She types that her battery is dying. The driver is acting bizarre, muttering incomprehensibly to himself. She says she is planning to make a run for it as soon as the car slows down or there's an opportunity to open the door.
And then?
And then, complete silence. The update stopped, the thread just ends.
She was gone. And for 7 years, no one knew what happened to the woman on the Enshu Railway. Her story became this massive, unresolved obsession on the Japanese internet. Because there was no closure, the community just kept analyzing the transcripts, trying to map the unmappable. But then, the narrative gets its 2011 epilogue.
This is the part of the timeline that really bends my brain. Because 7 whole years later, in 2011, a new post appears on the message board from an IP address claiming to be Hasumi.
After 7 years.
Yeah. The poster writes that she did jump from the moving car that night, and when she hit the ground, a mysterious man appeared out of nowhere and told her to run toward a light in the distance. But the deeply disturbing catch is that the poster claims she had no idea if it was currently 2004 or 2011.
She didn't know what year it was.
Right. She actually asked the forum what year it was. And after that single post, she vanished again, never to be heard from since.
See, that specific detail about losing 7 years of chronological time is what elevates the story. It frames Kisaragi Station as the ultimate liminal space.
The middle space.
Exactly. A liminal space is a threshold, a transitional state between two fixed destinations. Think of a hallway, an empty waiting room, or a phantom train station. Our brains track time using environmental cues like sunlight, routines, and the movement of other people.
Like anchors.
Yes, anchors. In folklore, when you enter a liminal space, those cognitive markers are stripped away, and the physical rules of reality break down. You are in the space between spaces where time stretches, compresses, or stops altogether.
I mean, that's fascinating, but I have to challenge the authenticity of that 2011 post, though. We are dealing with an anonymous message board where anyone can adopt a screen name. Was this just an incredibly dedicated troll playing the long game? Like, did someone really wait 7 years just to drop a breadcrumb and reignite the panic? Or, if we engage with the folklore on its own terms, does it genuinely imply that time behaves relativistically when you are trapped in a liminal space?
It's the ultimate question, isn't it?
Right. You run toward a light for 5 minutes from your perspective, but 7 years pass in the world you left behind.
And the ambiguity is exactly what gives the liminal space its lasting psychological power. You don't know the rules, and you don't know the timeline.
Wow, did you hear that? Colie just let out this incredibly long, heavy sigh. I mean, she knows we are deep in the unresolved ambiguity now. The tension of not having a neat ending is palpable even to her.
She's feeling the weight of the unknown, and ultimately whether Hasumi actually slipped through a crack in time or simply fabricated a brilliant serialized piece of interactive fiction to entertain herself on a boring commute, the cultural result is identical.
Yeah, she made an impact.
She did. Her late-night posts birthed a modern mythology. She single-handedly created an open-source ghost story that reshaped Japanese internet culture.
Hasumi's disappearance became the founding myth of an entire subculture known as ikai stations.
Ikai.
Right, and ikai roughly translates to another world. After the Kisaragi thread went viral, other internet users started reporting their own anomalous train stops. It became this massive collaborative world-building exercise.
Yeah, we saw the invention of Yami Station, Katasu Station, Hitsuka Station. There was even a highly detailed legend about Tsutaka Station, which supposedly featured a giant, ominous torii gate standing right on the concrete
That
platform.
is so cinematic.
It really is. Kisaragi provided the architectural blueprint for a whole new genre of urban legend, blending ancient Shinto spiritual boundaries with modern public infrastructure.
And it completely bled out of the message boards and into mainstream pop culture. In 2020, a creator named X000X underscore released a song based entirely on the Kisaragi legend that went massively viral.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
It's so cool because the track is famous for featuring an invisible Unicode title. If you look it up on Spotify right now, the title literally just displays as 4 forward slashes. It forces the listener to experience a little bit of that unmappable void.
That is a brilliant piece of marketing.
Right. Then, in 2022, a feature film titled Kisaragi Station was released. It followed a folklore student whose university thesis leads her to somehow find the actual coordinates of the platform.
So the pop culture footprint is immense. But to really understand why this specific story caught fire and refused to die, we have to look at its roots in reality. The terror of slipping into another dimension isn't just a fun sci-fi trope here.
A dimension. Okay, so how does that tie into reality?
Well, it taps into a very grounded, very real sociological anxiety in modern Japan.
You're talking about the physical landscape of the country changing, like the contrast between the neon, hyper-modern image of Tokyo and what is actually happening out in the rural prefectures.
Precisely. In 2020, the Japan Times ran a fascinating piece about Japan's genuine real-world phantom stations. Due to severe rural depopulation and a sharply declining birth rate, vast stretches of the Japanese countryside are simply being abandoned.
It's left to decay.
Yes. Defunct rail lines have left behind these overgrown, unmapped, silent stops in the middle of the mountains. Nature is aggressively taking back the infrastructure. The Kisaragi legend taps into the societal fear of being swallowed up by this declining, forgotten landscape.
It's the creeping dread that civilization is shrinking.
Exactly. And if you fall asleep on the train, you might wake up in the wild, empty spaces it left behind.
These real-life phantom stations are essentially scars on the landscape. They are architectural ghosts. They are places where humanity used to gather, where schedules used to matter, but now they are just rotting away in the woods. They act as the perfect, tangible breeding grounds for modern folklore.
And the phenomenon has actually come full circle.
Oh, really? How so?
The Enshu Railway, the actual transit system Hasumi was writing in 2004, has completely embraced the mythology. The suspected real-world inspiration for Kisaragi is a remote stop called Sagonomiya Station. Today, Sagonomiya Station hosts special events for fans of the legend.
You're kidding?
No. People deliberately travel there late at night, standing on the dark platform, hoping the architecture of reality glitches. They are actively trying to slip into that other dimension.
They want to experience the void for themselves, safely. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the line for tonight's journey. Let's quickly trace the map of the concepts we've explored.
Sounds good.
We started with the anomaly, the terrifying break in a rigid schedule. That carried us into the void, the completely empty, disconnected geography of the platform. We analyzed the liminal space, the threshold where time and reality warp. We explored the massive cultural ripple of Ikai, the otherworld stations. And finally, we grounded the idea of slipping into another dimension in the very real, fading infrastructure of the countryside.
It's quite a journey, and for those of you who want to keep exploring how these concepts shape the stories we tell, don't forget you can check out the Night Talk Vocabulary Companion Book, which is available now on Amazon.
It's an excellent resource for dissecting the anatomy of a good mystery. But before we sign off and let everyone get back to their commutes, what is the final thought you want to leave the listener with tonight?
It's a detail that consistently bothers me whenever I revisit this deep dive. We focus so heavily on Hasumi. We analyze her posts, her walk through the tunnel, her escape into the car.
Sure, she's a protagonist.
But if places like Kisaragi Station truly exist out there in the dark where the map ends, you have to wonder about the very beginning of her journey. You have to wonder about those 5 other passengers who were fast asleep in her train car while the anomaly happened.
Oh, man.
Did they ever wake up on our side of reality? Or are they still riding that train in the dark?
That is absolutely going to haunt me the next time I take the subway.
Yeah.
On that note, let me issue a final friendly warning to you listening right now. If you were ever on a late-night train and your normal stop passes and the doors stay shut and the train just keeps going and going, stay in your seat. Do not get off at a station you do not recognize.
I completely agree.
Whoa, wow, that was one single authoritative bark right into the microphone from Colie. I think you should consider that an official, non-negotiable warning from the tender Paw Sentinel herself. Stay on the train.